Before we start planting our food forest, we'll take moments to observe and to prepare. By writing down our observations of our space, we're going to create the most reliable and relevant resource available to ourselves. We'll use this to expand our learning about the existing components in our system so that we can start recognizing patterns and speculating their roles and their importance. By habit, we are often quick to assume that certain plants or animals are nothing more than a nuisance, and this is so far from the truth. Our goal here is to recognize the opportunities. So once you've recorded your observations, I challenge you to find the good in everything that you see. If there are aspects of your area that seem negative, think about what positive opportunities exist. Let's talk about some main categories that we can observe with some examples. The sun. Which areas of your potential grow space are shady and which areas are sunny? Do your sunny areas receive at least 6 hours of full sun? 6 hours is about the minimum amount of sun that you'll want for a food forest. You'll need to consider the amount of sun that you receive in certain areas when deciding on plant placement. Climate. There are endless factors for climate. We're just going to touch on a couple. What direction are the winds coming from? Take note of the times that your area has gusts of wind. And if during this time, will you be growing any plants that need wind protection? You can then do research on which plants will grow at the same time that are good for creating a wind barrier. This time of year, as it becomes colder, we sometimes get 110-kilometer wind gusts, and the sturdy mature cedars along the water are excellent windbreakers. They provide important protection for the rest of the forest, and it's the chill of the winter wind that is the most damaging to the trees. So if we were wanting to plant any new food-bearing trees in this area, their success would greatly benefit from the essential role of the established cedars. You can also observe how much rain you receive and how much you don't receive and when. If you have extended periods without any rain, this is definitely something to plan for. You can use planting techniques such as hugelkultur to maximize water storage, and I can provide you a link about hugelkultur in the description. Landscape. Notice the shapes of your land, the hills and the flat areas. How can we use the natural shapes to our advantage? Water is very connected to our landscape. Take note of where the rain is captured on the land and where does the rain tend to run away. Or maybe there are areas where the rain tends to pool on the surface. You'll want to increase the water catchment capabilities of your land as much as possible. Perhaps you have a disturbed hill like this one that has major erosion issues. This is where the water runs off too fast because it has no absorption capabilities. If you look at this steeper but undisturbed hill, it isn't eroding. The difference between the two is life. The eroding hill is void of organic matter and roots. The dirt forms a hard crust on the surface that doesn't really let the water in, so when the water lands, it chips away at it while rushing the dirt down to the bottom of the hill, and that is where the material has now ended up. The only fix for this is to reshape the hill and, most importantly, reunite organic matter and roots because they are what invite the water into the system rather than the two components working against each other. Also, take note of any high traffic pathways that are slowly becoming eroded. Even rich soils can diminish if there's a lot of regular traffic. It is important to us to maintain our forest floor, so we top up these walkways with pine needles or leaves. Then in spring we'll be planting more cover crops. Instances where the water tends to pool on lower flat spots that are perhaps made of heavy clay, there are a couple ways we could fix this issue. You could try to amend the clay by introducing and accumulating a balanced amount of organic matter and mixing it together, Or an area like this could make for an excellent pond. If suitable for your needs, the pooling could be used to our advantage to create an aquatic habitat. Animals. Start to become aware of the creatures that you see. Rather than viewing them instantly as a nuisance, is there something we can discover about them through research on how they can be beneficial to our space? Forests in nature thrive by themselves, and it's because of the diversity of wildlife, and that every animal has a purpose in this system. If you take a look at the classic monoculture grass lawn situation, we see how much work is involved to maintaining it, and that's because there's nothing there that makes it a functional system. By taking away the diversity, we've put all the work in our own hands because everything else that once took care of the land has been pushed out to become this singular species of grass. Monocultures are hard work to maintain because that is not how life lives. No one survives alone. Plants. You may opt to sheet mulching your space right away in order to get started on your food forest. But have you even discovered and identified the natural wild plants growing in your area before you decide to smother them? What wild plants are growing where? Find out why. What do their root systems look like? What does it tell you about the condition of that current state of soil? Some of your wild growing plants might be a beneficial diversity. Sheet mulching is more or less necessary in different circumstances. Diversity is essentially what creates stability. Through observation and thoughtfulness, we can discover positive opportunities to diversify the workload of our living systems. As a species, we have unfortunately taken the responsibility upon ourselves to manage our living systems alone, which is causing serious pollution that can ultimately lead to our extinction. Unless we learn to increase diversity, which spreads the workload of life management, where we can all work as one living system again. My name is Rachel, and this is Food Forest Living. My goal is to help you grow, nurture, and harvest the bounties of a simple, sustainable lifestyle by growing food like a forest. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.